Every day. Min and I are here answering one of your questions about work.
And today is day 115. We love answering your questions. And so today we have one that I think I came up in a conversation with you and somebody else. And so today's question is, are there projects I can do or undertake while I'm still in school that'll help prepare me for a potential job in the field that I'm interested in?
Yeah. This question came up when I was speaking in an NYU course that Josh Shapiro teaches about the future of work. And one of the students, Kimberly Chung, happened to go to my high school. So I was in high school. Hold on. And she asked about her particular interests, which are around advocacy in the Asian American community and the intersection of that with urban studies. I think it can generalize a little bit, which is, here's the old way of thinking about it. The old way of thinking about it was get an internship at a place that, an employer might recognize. Still a valid thing to do. A little bit harder during the school year, maybe even hard now during COVID. I don't quite know exactly how that's changed the internship landscape, other than for our own hiring for summer for fellows, summer and otherwise, which you can always find on our website. And or extracurricular activities that are either like some big thing on campus, like, oh, everybody's involved in the blank organization, or feel particularly attuned to some interest. And I always think those are a little weird. Like, I'm in the investment banking club. It's like, come on. Like, do you really want to be in the investment banking club? Like, what kind of person? So, if you're in the investment banking club. I think that in the world in which we live now, the big thing that's changed is that you don't need a seat at at some organization's table to learn about what happens in a particular area, take advocacy in the Asian American community, or even to begin to contribute value. And so I think the things that you should look for, or could look for, should is probably a strong word, are opportunities to actually develop your own point of view. And if you have, and here's what I mean by that. If I came to you and I said, hey, you're interested in advocacy in the Asian American community, well, what should happen in cities with Asian American populations? I mean, one of my mentors from college, Vincent Pan, now runs an advocacy organization in San Francisco and working in particular, mostly with the Chinese community, but more broadly with other Asian communities. And he has a point of view on what should be done. And if you have a point of view when you're in school, well, then that's amazing. Because then the question is, okay, given your point of view, how do you bring that to life? Like, are you missing some skill that you need to bring your point of view to life? In which case, yeah, go do a project and go get that skill. And if you don't yet have a point of view, or if you're not particularly confident in your point of view, which is, to be honest, most of us, it was me until relatively recently, the last few years, then the question is, okay, what projects can I undertake outside of my coursework in order to build a point of view on this domain that I think I care about? And a frequent thing you can do there is find somebody, a person and or an organization that you think reflects a way of going about things that you admire, that you wish to learn from, and figure out any possible way to be useful to them. Write a blog post assessing what you've seen them do privately before you publish it. Cold reach out to them, beg somebody you know who might know them, and say, hey, I've noticed what you're doing about X, I've been researching it, I'd like to be helpful, here's something I can do. Just find something you can do that gives you learning and knowledge, because any affiliation with any organization is probably something you can turn into a discussion point on your resume or LinkedIn to try to get a job. But if the thing you have to solve is learning, then go find somebody you admire and learn that thing. Easier said than done, but it's research first and then generating opportunities for yourselves. I don't know, Min, how does that land?
I mean, the nice thing is that, it's been a couple years since I was an undergrad, but the nice thing is that there are so many different avenues where you can find your people and your tribe. And so some of it often just starts with following the random, I don't know, I'm an internet person. I like spending time on the internet. So you find the Reddit threads that you like, or the random blogs that you like, or if you're on social media, the Twitter profiles that you think are really interesting. And then you kind of start with the person and what they read, what they like, and you kind of go from there.
I love that insight, because it reminds me first of all, you are an internet person, meaning you enjoy doing internet research. So do I. But some of the people you may want to serve, get close to, collaborate with, may themselves be internet people, in which case it's easy to find out lots of stuff about what, I don't know, some person with 100,000 Twitter followers thinks. Some of the most interesting people are not. And writing a letter, sending an email is something you can basically do with everybody. But finding some way to get to them, I guess what I'm suggesting is avoid falling into the trap that the people who are most visible to you, because they are the ones who promote themselves most, are the ones from whom you can learn the most. It isn't necessarily the case. In fact, often others are the ones who are most eager to have collaborators, and you need to think in your own domain and area of interest where you want to look.
Sound, not advice given.
We do, as we do.
So that was Kimberly's question. And if you have other questions that you want us to answer, reply to us here, and we'd be delighted to answer them.
Yep, answer without giving advice, because again, advice is usually somebody telling you how to live their life, build their business, and we want you to live yours. So we're just going to give our own perspective, and we'll be back tomorrow for more questions to be continued.
To be continued.